Venezuela's parliament has accepted a proposal from the Colombian Senate to establish a binational commission to work towards the normalization of diplomatic and trade relations between the two countries. Barbados Parliament elected the Caribbean nation's first president this Wednesday. The move puts an end to almost 400 years of the British monarch as a head of state. Nigerian youths held memorial protests in the cities of Lagos and Abuja on Wednesday, 1 year after security forces violently suppressed mass protests against police brutality and bad governance. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. The President of the National Assembly of Venezuela, Jorge Rodriguez, announced this Wednesday, that he received a proposal approved by the Senate of Colombia for the normalization of diplomatic and trade relations between the two countries. In statements to the press, the head of the Venezuelan parliament informed that he had accepted the proposal and called a parliamentary session this Thursday to discuss the initiative. Through a letter, the president of the Senate of Colombia, Juan Diego Gómez Jiménez, informed of the creation of a bilateral commission between both parliaments to work towards the re-establishment of relations. The proposal includes the normalization of diplomatic and commercial relations, the need for protection of Colombian companies in Venezuela and vice versa, as well as the verification of best practices in terms of bilateral trade. It marks a significant step in the midst of the ongoing attacks by the Iván Duque administration against the government of Venezuela.
Proposed to the Honorable Plenary of the Senate is the creation of a bilateral commission between the Parliament of the Republic of Colombia and the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela for the purpose of working jointly in accordance with the provisions of Article 189.2 of the Constitution, namely the Congress of the Republic of Colombia and the National Assembly of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela on the following aspects: normalization of diplomatic relations, normalization of trade relations, and the need to protect the companies of the Republic of Colombia in Venezuela and the protection of the companies of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela on Colombian soil. And thirdly, the verification of good commercial practices between both countries.
The president of the Venezuelan parliament also announced that official communication was sent to the Senate of Colombia, accepting the proposal to form a binational parliamentary commission to normalize diplomatic and trade relations between the two countries.
In this sense, I wish to point out that we are fully prepared to initiate the process expressed in said proposal, according to the terms and time frames that we agree upon. To this end, I sincerely reiterate my respect and consideration. Signed, Jorge Jesus Rodriguez Gómez, President of the National Assembly of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
The president of the Colombian Senate, Juan Diego Gómez Jiménez, explained how the initiative to create a binational commission to re-establish relations with Venezuela came about.
I have heard the President talk about this. However, yesterday, on the initiative of Senator Jorge Eliezer Guevara, a proposal was put forward in the Senate with a request to create a commission for the normalization of diplomatic and trade relations and a follow-up committee for good trade practices between both countries. I think this could be a step forward, an important message for the Vice President of Colombia, Marta Lucía Ramírez, and for President Iván Duque, because this is a matter without political ideology. It is a trade matter for the country, as well as a border issue. I believe that in this particular case, Colombia is a country with a violent history. We cannot allow ourselves to fall into this trap. I believe that in this particular case, Colombia is a country with a violent tradition. We cannot allow ourselves to fall into this trap. We have to look for protection mechanisms for the judicial and police authorities. Colombia is a country that by reciprocity should provide support for asylum seekers, because we have been a country that has also produced large migrations in other times, not only from Venezuela and neighboring countries, but from other regions in the world.
And we'll remain on topic. Colombian Senator for the Green Alliance Party, Jorge Guevara, offered statements to TeleSUR regarding the approval of the Binational Commission for the Normalization of Relations with Venezuela.
Proposition number 34 has been approved by the plenary of the Senate. What do we consider in the proposition? To create a binational commission, both from the Parliament of Venezuela and the Parliament of Colombia, with three objectives. First, normalization of diplomatic relations. Second, normalization of trade relations. And third, a revision of good commercial practices between our countries.
And Colombians gathered in the capital Bogotá on Wednesday to protest against the government of President Iván Duque as the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken visited the country. Blinken visited Ecuador on Tuesday as part of his three-day trip through Latin America, where he met with right-wing former banker President Guillermo Lasso and praised the country's example of democracy just hours after Lasso declared a state of emergency in the face of widespread anti-government protest, ordering troops into the streets. On Wednesday, Blinken met with Colombian President Iván Duque, a key ally of Washington in its attacks on neighboring Venezuela.
Here, the priority in Colombia is that the president talks with the people that understand and listen their basic needs, those basic needs that have been raised because the humanity of Colombian has been raised.
That's part of the policies of Duque's government and his government's party. They don't care about the whole problematic of the Colombian people. It's a deaf government. It doesn't listen to the clamor of the people. The Colombian president Iván Duque knows it, and he does it on purpose. He does not have any sense, but the history will condemn him, sooner or later. We, the people, are conscious, and we know that voting is our option.
And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The Parliament of Barbados this Wednesday laid down one of the final steps to the Caribbean nation becoming a republic, on electing its first president, putting an end to the colonial vestige of the British head of state. In a special joint session of Parliament, the House of Assembly and the Senate, as collective, voted on the election of Governor-General Dame Sandra, who will become the island's first president on November 30th, Independence Day, and the day on which Barbados becomes a republic. This step will officially end Queen Elizabeth II's tenure as head of state. Barbados thus puts an end to 396 years of the rule of a British head of state, in effect since English colonialists landed on the Caribbean island in 1625. After the voting session at Parliament, Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, referred to her country's struggles for true independence.
We have had a journey that has been, in our view, one that has fought against all oppression and exploitation, to reach to the point where, sir, we are in a position to claim our own destiny. We have reached this moment on the eve of our 55th year of independence. And we all know in our own lives that to reach 55, if you are not comfortable with yourself, if you are not confident in yourself, then something is fundamentally wrong. And this government, like those who went before and who expressed confidence in the journey, even if not completing the process, we believe that the time has come for us to claim our full destiny.
Now let's take a look at who Sandra is, the woman who will be sworn in on November 30th as Barbados' first president. Born on January 17, 1949, in the eastern parish of St. Philip, Sandra Prunella Mason began her career as a lawyer in 1975. In the early 1990s, she served as Barbados ambassador to Venezuela. She also served on the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child from its creation until 1999 as vice chair and chair. In 2013, Mason was the first Barbadian to be appointed a member of the Commonwealth Court of Conciliation and Arbitration. In 2008, she was sworn in as an appellate judge and became the first woman to serve at Barbados Court of Appeals. In 2017, Mason was appointed as the 8th Governor General of Barbados, beginning her term on January 8, 2018. According to protocol, Dame Sandra Mason was nominated by both the country's sitting leader, Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley, and the leader of the opposition for the post of president.
And it is then that I appreciate them so much more.
Now we move on to other topics. In Bolivia, the relatives of the victims of the Sincara and Sacaba massacres perpetrated by the de facto regime of Yanin Áñez began a march aiming to cover 190 kilometers along the highway that links the cities of Oruro and La Paz to demand justice. Our correspondent, Freddy Morales, has the details.
Authorities of Carayoco Municipality, Department of Oruro, welcomed the demonstrators and provided them with food and shelter. They were bidden farewell with coffee, bread and solidarity. We, the people, will continue to welcome you at every place where you stay, brothers and sisters. You will never feel alone. The Bolivian people are with you. These people decided to take to the road to draw the attention of judges, but especially of persecutors, who are not making progress in the investigations prior to the persecution of those responsible for the violence.
When Áñez was in government, they persecuted us, they humiliated us, they tortured us in the hospital. They did not want to receive us anywhere. We felt alone, helpless. We want to know who the perpetrators are, who committed the murders, because they have taken life and there has been a violation of human rights. He's my husband, David Carlos Mamani Quispe. He's one of the injured members of the Sencata Victims Association of El Alto, and what we demand as Sencata and Sancaba is justice.
By decree, the de facto government excluded the military and police from any responsibility in acts of repression. With this guarantee, the troops carried out 2 massacres. The first was in Socaba, Cochabamba.
We are asking for justice. I was injured. I was shot in my belly when I was 4 months pregnant. Now we are peacefully marching. We are asking for justice. No justice has been done for 2 years. I don't know why. There is no justice for poor people. Don't you see?
I know we're not alone, brothers and sisters. The fight is for all of us. Together we'll find justice. We want justice. Let there be justice, brothers, for our fallen brothers in Sacaba and Guayani.
I ask for justice for my husband who was shot. He was suffered for 7 months. Now we are marching for justice and we ask that Áñez, Murillo, Camacho, Carlos Mesa go to jail.
Those participating in the march presented a list of demands and was made public in January of this year, with no major results. They demand compensation from the state for the families of those killed, for the wounded and for the political prisoners, but most importantly, they demand justice. They have to be brought to trial and persecuted. They have to identify the people who have fired the shots, in this case the military and police, not just the commander. Here there have been people who have pulled the trigger, and we have the Supreme Decree 4078, which guarantees impunity to ministers, army and police commanders. Fortunately, those who have given the orders are listed by name. One of the demonstrators' first actions was to send a letter to those responsible for awarding the European Union's Sakharov Prize for Defenders of Democracy and Human Rights. In the letter, they describe exactly who Yanin Áñez, the Bolivian nominee to receive the award, is and what she did in the de facto government.
Now we address other topics. Residents of Argentina's capital are now allowed to go without wearing face masks for the first time since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The measure only applies to open places and comes after the capital city reached 70% of its population fully vaccinated against the novel coronavirus. The government of President Alberto Fernandez had allowed people to stop wearing masks in open spaces nationwide from October 1st, but it was up to individual cities to implement the measure. Coronavirus occupancy of intensive care beds in the public health system is now 3.2%, an all-time low record. Some 31.5 million people have received one dose of a vaccine, while about 24.8 million have received 2 doses out of a population of some 45 million. And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Nigerian youths held a memorial protest in the cities of Lagos and Abuja on Wednesday, 1 year after security forces violently suppressed mass protests against police brutality and bad governance. In Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja, protesters gathered at the Unity Fountain, where they stressed that 1 year on, the demands of the end-sars demonstrations have not been met. Meanwhile, in sub-southern cities, including Port Harcourt and Nsukka, candlelight marches were planned for the evening. Last year's rallies began over brutality by the SARS Special Police Unit, but snowballed into protests over bad governance in the largest mass demonstrations in Nigeria's modern history. They came to a halt after October 20, 2020, when security forces shot at thousands of peaceful protesters gathered at the Lekki tollgate in Lagos, killing at least 10. The Special Anti-Robbery Squad Unit, or SARS, was later disbanded.
That none of the demands that led to end-sars have been met, and that also it is important that those who have been jailed are released immediately, 300 of them or more, that we know of. Because it was a failure of this system that led to end-sars rebellion in the first place. And if anybody, for that matter, and I'm saying this as a human being, lost their life in the process, all of them should be given the compensation and the support they deserve.
And we hope that this will serve as a lesson and as a reminder to generations coming after us that indeed, with resilience, with commitment, that we can surmount our fears and we can confront every issue that is bedeviling our nation.
Eswatini saw protests against police brutality on Wednesday as the small southern African nation sees a wave of pro-democracy demonstrations. Authorities in Africa's last absolute monarchy announced on Saturday they had shut its schools indefinitely with immediate effect, in the midst of the protests by students who for a number of weeks have been boycotting lessons and calling for free schooling as well as an end to the regime under King Mwari III. At least 28 people were reported dead as police repressed protesters in some of the worst unrest in the country's history.
We condemn the state of brutality that is being demonstrated by the state security forces against the employees, which are basically demonstrating peacefully without any form of violence and exercising one of the inviolable rights that are available for them as workers. There is absolutely no basis for the state forces to use such brutality against workers. In any event, we are determined to push forward on the demands of the workers, one of which is a release of the arrested MPs and a full democratization of the country so that citizens can enjoy their full rights as citizens as opposed to being subject. We condemned.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm your host, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.